Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet John Carona. He's one of the most successful entrepreneurs and servant-based leaders in the country. You'll hear his incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I'm so excited about this episode because John Carona, a business legend, a lawmaker legend, is in the studio, and he's had such a rich life, and he's just getting started. John Carona, thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, I got to Dallas in '92. When did you start your career in lawmaking?
Well, I was first elected in 1991, I believe it was.
Wow.
And spent 24 years in public office.
That's incredible.
One of the great experiences of a lifetime.
And thank you for your service, because people think that, you know, lawmakers go to Austin and get rich, and it's really servant leader.
It is. At $600 a month, you've got to be pretty good at leveraging your money to get rich off of that job, let me assure you. But it really was one of the great opportunities of a lifetime. I enjoyed public service tremendously, and it's something I'll always remember fondly.
Well, as I was doing research for the show this morning on YouTube, I found this wonderful video. It was made a dozen years ago, but let's go ahead and roll a clip.
He just has always had an extremely strong sense of responsibility.
Well, we knew growing up that my father's upbringing was different than ours, and that it carried different challenges and different pressures than our life as kids. And we knew that my father had to start working at an early age to contribute to his family.
His father passed away when John was a young man.
Growing up in a close-knit Italian community, it was just known and assumed that you took care of family. Whether it was put there by others or by his own choice, I think he felt the burden to care for those around him and to work as hard as he needed to work so that they would be taken care of. And so that work ethic and that drive that we all see today came out of a place of care and consideration for other people.
He started his own business as a very young man, essentially right out of college. He had one job for a short period of time working for someone else, and then he decided, you know, I can do this on my own. He's grown a business that has 10,000 employees, and he takes it seriously. He realizes that, you know, he holds their livelihood in his hands.
In his professional life, he had a concept as a young man, and he has passionately taken that concept and turned it into a company that affects people across the country and across the globe.
A commitment, a calling, if you will, to take care of other people. And I think that sort of parlayed into his love of public service. He's a very problem solver by nature. And so if he sees a problem, he wants to be involved in the solution. Hand in hand with being a problem solver is you have to be able to negotiate. You know, there are some things in life where sticking to your principles 100% is the absolute right thing to do. But when it comes to governance, where you have a democratic government, where the people are the ones that ultimately have the say, then you have to be respectful of all the people.
My father chose when I was young to run for office, and we have been proud of him in that decision ever since. But he always made it clear that you don't need that title to be a leader. You don't need that title to serve your community, to give back to others. Anyone can be, and all of us should be, public servants.
Wow. It's not like you look at that video every day. I mean, when you were watching that.
I haven't seen that video in years, but it touches my heart for a number of different reasons. But I think public service is a wonderful thing, but also think private enterprise is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
And as someone who has created various businesses over the years, I can tell you that there's great reward in knowing that you're providing an opportunity for people to have a good livelihood and an opportunity to advance their careers for the benefit of their own families. And so I've been very proud of the life that I've been given. And to this day, I continue to work hard to maintain it for my own family and, of course, for the thousands that work for our companies.
All right, you teed that up perfectly. Let's talk about your company. And as we scroll down the website, I want you to talk about how you're really an early disruptor. When you started this company, there was probably a traditional way to do things.
There was indeed. And disruptor, I guess, is a fair word to say, because we've always tried to do things differently, to find greater efficiencies, to find greater automation and technology, but at the same time to provide a level of training that hadn't been seen previously in our industry. All of those things together enabled us to build what is today the largest residential real estate management firm, well, we believe globally, certainly in the United States.
You have to be so proud.
Well, I am proud. Every day is a new day, and to maintain a business today, you have to be prepared to work every day. You never know what surprises are coming your way. Business in general is not easy,
Yes.
but we tend to our business, and as a result, we've been rewarded with a very successful one. We are 1 year away from our 50th anniversary.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. And I'm very proud of that. And I continue to work full-time every day. In fact, most days I'm behind my desk at work by 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, and I'm not slowing down.
I love that. And we were having this conversation before the show started. You don't really intend to retire, and
No, retirement, that's for others. I enjoy with the same enthusiasm today as when I was a 20 and 30-year-old.
Wow.
I love the business. It's competitive, it's challenging, it is rewarding, and it's a business that can be built. Now, today, our total payroll is just under 23,000 people.
Wow.
And it's growing. We continue to acquire businesses globally.
Yes.
We just recently acquired a new company in Spain, and we believe Portugal is right around the corner. And so the company will be in 6 countries, and we think there's an opportunity to be in 6 more beyond that. It's
Yes.
really just a matter of what we're able to do. We want to make sure with growth is wonderful, but we want to make sure that we always provide quality and that we maintain quality throughout. And so, with that in mind and with the best in-class training for our employees, we believe we can continue to advance our footprint across the globe.
All right, let's talk about that. It must be so rewarding to watch an employee grow into a manager and maybe lead a division. What is that like?
It is. One of the things about our business is that we have created purposely a real family culture. And we were that way and emphasized that when we were small, but we have made every effort to maintain that even as a large company. And our employees will tell you that the number one value they appreciate the most is the family culture within the business. And what does family culture mean? It means we take care of our employees. We listen to what they have to say. We take their recommendations more often than not. We involve ourselves when they face their own personal crises, as well as, and of course, we try our very best to meet their professional needs. Most people, when they take a job, look for an opportunity to advance. And fortunately, within our company, because of the growth, among other things, advancement is a very real possibility for most of our people, really for anyone who has a desire.
All right, so you've been doing this for close to 50 years. What's your longest active employee?
We just celebrated the 43rd, I believe it was, anniversary of one of our employees.
That's so cool.
It's amazing to me. But I will tell you, we have a very, very low employee turnover rate. And I think that goes back again to that family culture. People know that we appreciate them and we respect them. It's not about who in the marketplace pays the highest salary.
Yes.
I mean, salary is important for all of us, of course. We've got, our employees have their own needs to take care of, but they appreciate alongside a fair salary, they appreciate the fact that they're with a company that is stable, that is financially solid, and that they know will be around the next decade and the decade to follow.
All right, when you look back over the last 50 years, what's been the most rewarding memory that you have of owning this company?
Well, I think I'd have to say collectively, it's just watching the evolution that comes with growth. The company we started out with organizationally, in terms of assets, in terms of resources, is entirely different than what we have today. We're able to do things today that we never could have done in our early years. Growth in a company, a successful company, is incremental. You try to do too much too fast, your business is going to fail. If you fail to do anything at all, nothing stays the same forever, and you lose out on the market. So you've got to be able to time your moves with the growth of the company and always be one step ahead as best you can. And we've followed that belief. We never stop working on improving the company. We never stop working on better customer service, better training. Today, Associa spends millions of dollars per year in training our employees. And we don't just train them, but we train them and retrain them and retrain them, because that's what it takes. And a service culture, especially today, it can be very demanding. And clients expect quality service. They expect it to be timely. They expect it to be accurate. And they deserve all of those things. And so it's my job as the CEO of the company to make sure that we deliver on those promises.
All right, you've seen lots of highs and lows. I'm thinking about the housing market over the last 50 years, and you've probably seen 3 or 4 recessions.
Oh, yes. We've been through, like every other company, we've been through all of those things, and you learn to adapt. You make the changes necessary when you face a downturn. Many would say there's a downturn right now with mortgage rates high and with the housing stock turning over at a very slow rate and not being adequate for the demand that's out there today. These are somewhat slow times in an industry like ours, but you adjust your business accordingly. And I can tell you that out of our 49 years in business today, I doubt more than 4 or 5 of them have ever been unprofitable. Wow. And we've always maintained some profit margin as we've grown. And that, of course, is the key too. You get the support, you get the opportunities to acquire, you get the support of your lenders as long as you perform. Everybody loves you when you perform, not so much when you don't. And so one of the things we make certain that we do is we run the company and govern the company in such a way that we can assure performance, and at the same time, we don't expect or place unreasonable demands on our employees. Employees give enough as it is. Just in a course of a typical work week, they work hard, and we want to make sure they're rewarded for that. And so, all throughout the company, we have programs in place that don't just guarantee a given salary, but for many of our people, they have bonuses and they participate in the profits of the company, and that too has attracted the kind of loyalty that we have.
All right, it's a family company, so you have some kids that work in the business, and I understand you have a granddaughter who...
I do. I just recently was quite honored, if you would, when one of my grandchildren, I have 8 grandkids, one of them called and said, "Papa, can I work as an intern this summer before I go off to college at the company?" And I had wanted, one of them to do that. And at some point along the way, she's the first. And I said, well, of course you can. But yes, we have several family members. My wife works side by side with me every day and has for over 30 years herself. And I have one son who is an attorney who works in our legal department. I have another son who runs one of our branch locations. And so I'm very proud to have that. And they all like to remind me that, Dad, I'd prefer not to work as hard as you do, but I understand that. I understand where they're coming from. They've seen what it takes to build a business over the years. They're not so sure they'd like to have that opportunity, but working as part of a successful ongoing venture, they're glad to do.
Well, in that video, it talked about you going to work at an early age, and we were talking before the show about the importance of parents passing on hard work ethic to their kids.
Oh, absolutely. Today's kids, so many end up going to summer camps and various things that just didn't exist 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so their summer is largely taken up by those events. And it's not that those events aren't important. Of course, they're quite important. But there's no substitute for old-fashioned work. And the sooner that a young person in their teens can get into the workforce, be it a summer job, an after-school job, whatever, there are so many fundamentals that are taught. I tell people today that our success in business goes back to the days when I was a 12-year-old mowing lawns. That's how I got started. I mowed lawns all through at high school up until the time I left for college. By the way, University of Texas Longhorns, just like to get plugged. But
some of those Texas summers were hot.
some of those were very hot, yes. But you know what? I learned customer service. I learned showing up on time. I learned responsibility. I learned what it was to make my own money and have my own, at an early age, my own little checking account that money went into. All of those things are very, very important. And one might argue they're more important than some of those summer camps. And I encourage parents to have their teens work, and because there's so much to be learned by that. And at an age today where the kids are all on their electronic devices and they're not accustomed to speaking one-on-one, being out in the workforce forces you to look a person in the eye and learn to communicate, and again, help to further your ability to be responsible.
Yes.
And so I think that that's something, at least in our family, was very important. It's certainly made all the difference in the world for me, and I think it's important for all kids today.
Well, and so many kids think a credit card is free money. Oh, Mom, just put it on the credit card.
Well, we all, every generation wants to do more for their kids than the generation before. But, there is a such thing sometimes as doing too much or doing too much too fast. And, and so, teaching responsibility requires a person actually getting in there and learning firsthand. And that's what kids need more of today. And that would solve a lot of problems when you stop and think about it for a moment. But that's the way it is in the Carona family, and there might be others that hopefully do some of the same things we've done. It certainly worked for us.
All right, John, we got about 2 minutes left. So final thoughts. What are some words of wisdom that you would love to leave with our audience?
Well, I get asked that question from time to time. It really depends on the audience, but in our business, we've always paid close attention to setting goals. I'm a goal setter, and I'm one of these people that sets short-term goals, intermediate, and even long-term goals. I'm also somebody that writes it all down. I never leave the office. This will tell you how fixated I become at times, but I never leave the office without writing and leaving myself a list of tomorrow's to-dos. I never get up until I've done that. I just think goal setting is important for advancement, and I think it's important that people refine those goals from time to time. Goals today might not be your goals 5 years from now, but that's an important thing to do. So my advice would be to aim high and to set goals and to get up early. And I do. I'm at my office typically 6:30 in the morning, and I go all day, and I love it.
John, thank you. This is one of my favorite segments of all time. We're going to leave you with his website, which is associaonline.com, the great John Carona. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.